Hey, Monkey Nation, listen, we've been talking about this for a while now, and if you missed out on the last deal where you got $200 worth of free gear, check out what we've got going on right now. This is over at monkeywerxprep.com. You'll get a 3-month kit, and you'll save $200 right now, and that will not last forever, but for every 3-month kit you buy, you get $200 off. That's a current special that's going, and remember, monkeywerxprep.com. Jump over there and get it now and get that food that you need to get you and your family through the crisis that is coming. It will not last forever. I'm telling you, when you need it, it's going to be hard to get. So don't wait. All right. That is monkeywerxprep.com. And you will be thankful that you did this. God bless. Monkey out. Is currently, let's see, 11:02 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. And it is 4/10/2023. And so without further ado, let's jump over the board. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and bell for notification so you get the latest and greatest as things start to unfold. And let's see, if you don't also have the app, it is free, 90 free. So get over there and download it, and then you'll get the latest. Every time I go on or I post a blog or something, you'll get a notification from that. So, all right, let's hop over here. We're going to kick it off in Skyglass this morning, as always, the best flight tracker app in the world. And this right here is, we're looking at the tankers for this morning. We've got 22 KC-135s up, and then we've got 5 76200s. And let me just double check. I'm going to add one more DC-10 to the mix here, because that is also an air refueler. But you'll notice a lot of it's coming out of this general area. What these guys do is they basically hop up, they go out to a marshalling point, and they'll fly around in a circle in that marshalling pattern that we talk about. And they'll have fighters come in or whatever, the aircraft, and hook up. When you see the real long trails going across, more than likely those guys are providing fuel for people that are going across country, etc. And I know that just because I talked to somebody in the know and they kind of walked me through it. Now, most of these, like the KC-135, roughly 70,000 pounds of fuel. And I've been asked multiple times, well, how many fighters can one aircraft, air refueler, service? Well, if assuming it's at 70,000, and let's just say you got an F-16, they probably take on about 4,000 pounds. So roughly, and this is back in the napkin, but you're probably talking about 30 aircraft, give or take, with one air refueler. So that kind of gives you an idea of what can be up. Now, if you get a B-52 comes in there, he's going to suck up every bit of that fuel. And then it's, pretty much that guy's going back to get more fuel in terms of the tanker. So anyway, that just kind of gives you a little breakdown. Again, anytime you see air refuelers, that is a pretty good indicator of fighters, just because fighters don't have the ability to stay aloft for a long period of time without taking on fuel, okay? So like this little ring right here that you see over kind of North Florida, Buoy 12 is the call sign. He's at 23,000 feet. Now, the other thing, too, air refuelers, they'll kind of chill out in the 23 to 25, maybe 26,000 foot range. That's kind of their area where they get some smooth air, and that's where a lot of the air refueling takes place. You don't really see them well above that. Okay. All right. Again, you can see these two, the little tag team coming in, servicing that general area. All right. Okay. Now let's go over to Europe and take a look and see what we've got up there. Now keep in mind too, this is what they deem a federal holiday. So things are a little lighter in the U.S. than they normally would be for a Monday, okay? And so it looks like we just have this one. It's kind of over Luxembourg. And let's see, that's going to be probably, looks to be descending at 768 feet is the descent rate, 5,000 foot. 5,000 feet up right now. So yeah, it looks to be landing. All right. And so that looks like that air refueling activity is done. Then we get this one up over Iraq. That is probably taking care of fighters. This area right here is where it just keeps going hot in terms of the U.S. and whatever's going on over here. Now, we do know Iran over here is actually inside Syria, as well as Russia, Syria themselves. Israel is doing some stuff in there at the border, and Turkey is also embedded in here. So this is kind of a hotbed. Definitely an opportunity for things to go, a little wonky. So, Okay, let's back away from this aspect of the air refuelers, and we'll look at the totals up right now over the United States. We've already taken out the trainers, the Tex 2s and the T-38s. Let me back us back over to CONUS, and hopefully it'll take us there quickly. But we can get a total. Let me back up, and we'll see what we've got going on. Now, when I get to the watch list, it gets really, really interesting. I'm going to show you some stuff that's going on. We're going to delve into that detail, okay? 170. Yeah, that is lighter. That's, again, taking out roughly 60-plus trainers out of the mix, okay? All right. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the other stuff, the intel, et cetera, today. I just kind of backed away from that and the drones and R-135s. We'll look at that again on Wednesday. But for today, we're going to actually talk survey aircraft for a minute. Now, this is in the last 3 days. So this is from Friday. I want to note that we have some activity going on over Los Angeles in the Southern California side, up near Sacramento to the east of San Francisco, stuff in New Mexico. Digging in, I'm going to drill down a little bit here so you can see the stuff going on. This is Texas, south of the Metroplex. So that's down a little further south from Dallas-Fort Worth. And then you get over, you've got things in North Carolina, Atlanta, Virginia, Maryland. Look at this path. And keep in mind, we have had in 30 days well over 500 survey flights. At first, I thought they're rail, but there is no way this is just rail. And in talking to my rail contacts, they also would say that's really not what they do for rail. So some of these companies are or were originally tied to rail, so that may have been part of it initially, but not anymore. All right. Notice over Detroit, all the way up, top to bottom in Michigan, Chicago, Minnesota. It's everywhere. Iowa. This is crazy. And Kansas, really beating down a path there. Not too much going on in Florida other than up in the Panhandle side. Okay. All right. Now, let's go over to this side of it. We're going to dig into why I think this rail stuff is important. I'm going to bounce to one thing real fast. I just want to give you an update on the volcanic activity going on. We've got Simaru and Dukono happening down here in Southeast Asia. This one is the big one. This is the one that was pumping ash all the way out over the Pacific, and it looks like it is still very active. Look at the ash cloud alert tied to this. And then, of course, now we got this one firing up here. This is Katmai in Alaska. So no shortage of volcanic activity. And then, of course, we go down here and you can see quite a few. This is pretty normal within this range, okay? We always have these firing along the Ring of Fire, all right? Okay, let's move on. Let's talk the survey stuff. Why I think this is more than just more than rail, okay? I think this is a preparation for martial law. This is just my feel for things. But notice this. This is an article that was put out yesterday, 7:46 a.m., and it was over on Microsoft Start. The most lethal threat to America revealed. Militarized Nazis, more dangerous than China or Putin, new intelligence report says. Okay, why is this important? Well, because there is a bucket that pulls in a lot of people. It is not just white supremacy or neo-Nazism. It's other exclusionary, yeah, sound it out, man. Cultural nationalist belief. Okay, that could tie in Trump supporters very quickly. It's remember, Trump is really big on the nationalist thing. So was Hitler. I'm not saying Trump is Hitler, but just pointing that out. Okay, so it may not be something you want to hear, but that's the truth. Okay, and so when it comes to that movement, the nationalist movement, that was a big thing. That when you get over to Nazi Germany, that was their movement, nationalist. Okay. But again, it's going to bucketing people into, different group sets within the United States. And I think that's important. When you look at these surveys going on, that is why I think this is all tying together. Now, I want to remind you of something. You may remember we talked about this probably around the end of the year last year, so it's been about 5-6 months. But there was a government bid, actually not a bid, a government buy for several thousand of these heat rigs. That's what they call them, okay? This rig right here is made to conceal. You can basically notice these are, I mean, you can throw AK mags in there, you can throw AR magazines, whatever it may be, but that is what they call battle load. I think it's eight magazines is a standard battle round or battle load. But notice here on the back, right, just kind of ties in. You can't really see any bulge or anything like that. You could see it from the front, but it fits outside of a jacket, inside of a jacket. This right here, you got a coat over it. Now, this is just a cutout showing you, or a cutaway, how it is actually underneath a suit jacket. All right. And then it gives you kind of the whole deal here. But this was based on a movie, and they've basically come out and redone it. But the big takeaway is when the U.S. government goes out and buys several thousand of these, I know that because I know a security company that was buying these, and they were told that their order was delayed because of a U.S. government order, a large order. So keep that in mind, okay? It's just a data point for you, but there's something stinks to high heaven with it. Like, why would our U.S. government need these? Don't really know. But when you start talking about this, and you look at what has happened historically in Ukraine and other countries, you could see where you could take several thousand instigators and put them into a lot of the populace within the United States and force a lockdown and put us into some type of martial law. Now, here's the other piece. I've talked about this in the past. 7 decades of Nazi collaboration, America's dirty little Ukraine secret. This is a write-up over on The Nation, and it's a really, actually pretty elaborate write-up, but it talks about some of the history there, and you can get into this part. It's dating back to World War II, and I've talked about that in the past, these groups, this OUN, and there's another one too that we're going to look at, and I'm going to show you where it kind of ties in. But remember that the U.S. stood up with the CIA, a stronghold. After Operation Paperclip started, the agencies, for one, DARPA kicked off. Then you had NASA kick off, and this was taking the German scientists that came over that were responsible for doing all the atrocities within the camps. Okay, it wasn't just rocket scientists. And then you had them stand up the CIA. Well, guess what? They moved and did an activity in Ukraine. We've been there ever since. And if you don't believe me, let me show you the document here. This is actually a military site, U.S. military site, but it talks about the insurgent movement in Ukraine during the 1940s and 50s and the lessons learned, the case study of this insurgent army, OUN-UPA. Okay. And it is, how many pages? 102 pages. So we're not going to get into it, but I will tell you, it didn't take me but a second to go find this in my Google search. All right. So let's talk about UPA. Notice the flag, red and black. All right. This was basically what was stood up inside Ukraine to fight off a lot of different things, but it's basically continuation of the Nazi party, really, into Ukraine, okay? And so you see the flag, right? Black and red. Let's get over here and take a look at Antifa's flag. What do you see? Coincidence? I think not, okay? There's definitely something to this. And the fact that we've got an article here that talks about this, we talk about these thousands of these heat rigs sold to the U.S. government on a contract. And then we look back at the survey aircraft, like I said, last 3 days, and you see them going all over the place, coast to coast now. We're starting to see California get around the big cities, at least, have their surveys done. We've seen Texas all over the DFW Metroplex being taken care of, and then a little south of the Metroplex. Again, like I said, this is all data points for you, but something stinks to high heaven. I feel like we're being set up for something, and it is not beyond our government to do something like that. All right. Okay. We get back over here to the mini board, and we're going to press on. So we talked about that. Let's get over here to Flashbang. He is attending the egg roll today. All right. we will just press on. But that is Monday the 10th. Really nothing to see there. But while he's doing that, let's take a look at corporate bankruptcies that jumped in Q1 of this year. This is just showing you from January 20th to March 2023. You can see there was a spike shortly after the COVID pandemic that had a lot of corporate bankruptcies. And then it started to dip down and smooth out a little, did a big dip. And now we're seeing trend data that would indicate that these companies are starting to go bankrupt again. And so this is, we're not record setting yet, but I tell you what, keep our eye on it, because if the trend continues upward, that's not going to be good for our economy. And of course, we see lots of that already out there. I've been sharing that with you every SITREP, the fact that our economy, all the indicators out there are that we're about to go into a heavy recession, if not beyond that, maybe depression. And, you need to be prepared for that, okay? All right, over here on Zero Hedge. Now, I talked about this in my Monkey Minute yesterday, but there is over 100 classified documents that have appeared online, and they're all secrets, basically from Ukraine to Middle East to China. There's stuff that covered the agencies taking out the pipeline. There are things in there talking about a spring initiative in Ukraine. There are a ton of different things in there about all kinds of different war approaches and situations. I showed you the heavies. Actually, I did not show you the heavies. Let's do that real fast. I want to make sure I did cover that. When we look at this, looking at the heavies, this is a C-17 activity in the last, 10 days. All right. And it is hundreds and hundreds of flights. And you can see really heavily focused on the ports. And again, you get over here to Europe, and it kind of gives you, look at this, southern Spain and Portugal, that general region. It gives you the idea where our bases are located, really, where we're putting all the concentration. That's going to be the UK, obviously. Then we get into Ramstein in Germany. That's a major hub for us. And then you get down into Hungary. And as you go up and I kick it around to the side, you can see right there that little spot, RZE, that we look at all the time. Very, very active. We've had a lot of C-17s in and out of there. And then the other new U.S. military base location in Poland, we've got some stuff going on in Malta. And then we'll just kind of drive east from there. You can see a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East. Okay. And let me just keep backing up. We'll go over here to India. Look at the activity going on in India, all the way up from Bangladesh, up near Pakistan. And then we've got activity going on in Southeast Asia. We get down to the Philippines. Look at this up here, how light that is for C-17 movement. Very, very light. It shows you, it just goes to show you that the focus right now is Europe, that we seem to have abandoned the Asian Pacific side of the house, at least from a volume perspective, okay? And then you see it going all the way down into Australia. So, yeah, sorry if I skipped over that little data point for you. Okay, let's move on. But this classified leak is key. It's very important to understand that somebody on the inside, the Pentagon, is pretty much scrambling to figure out what happened, what the damage was. As you can see over here on the drive, they're talking about a major damage assessment is underway, looking at the leaks on Ukraine, okay? Very, very bad. They're saying that these classified documents could become a problem for the sharing of sensitive information. Yeah, we've got people getting this information out that's not good, really. More than likely, this came from a senior staff official and probably going to be over on the other side of the drink. So somebody maybe in Five Eyes, okay? But it's not good, really not good, because, when you start to share your war plans, especially an offensive that's supposed to take place now and in the coming weeks, let's see if they continue to do it. But that goes to show you that all of the data we've been watching relative to the flights going in and out of Europe, it told us exactly what was going on, that we can actually see them staging, getting ready to do a major military effort against Russia and Ukraine. It looks like the focus was going to be on Crimea. to try and take that stronghold. So this would have been very big. We'll see if it continues on, but not a good situation. Okay. All right. And then here, this is Jerusalem Post actually talking about Ukraine alters the counteroffensive plans after the document leak. So yeah, they're already rewickering the book and the plans, which really, what does that tell you? It confirms that those plans were real. Okay. If they're altering the counteroffensive plans, then yeah, it tells you that that was a real leak. Okay. All right. Now here's just a data point for you, but the U.S. Navy sends guided missile submarines to the Middle East. That is new. That came out on April 8th via Reuters. And it says that the nuclear-powered guided missile submarine was operating in the Middle East in support of the Bahrain base U.S. Fifth Fleet. So those guys are actually located there in Bahrain. All right. So let's move on from there. But this is, it's a data point for you. Check this out, though. It says it is capable of carrying up to 154 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles. That's pretty impressive. Okay, over here to the NOTAMs, you can see the U.S. looks to be just kind of normal. We see the normal boxes that we always see. I don't see anything relative to flashbang at this moment. That right there into Philly, we'll see Citizens Bank Park. Okay, that's a ballpark. That's a baseball game. Nothing to see here. That's going to be a baseball game. All right. That's going to be a baseball game probably. So we'll just ignore those and get on with it. So let's go over here off this side. Let's get over to Europe. You can see we still have the box here for the satellite survey that was going on. And then we have all this stuff going on in Ukraine, still the same boxes, a little bit of activity here. Looks like some of the stuff that was happening in this general region in terms of exercises, etc., same as up here on the northern end of the UK, have since ceased. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at our cyber attacks for today. You can see it is just like it always is, one direction, and the U.S. is just getting peppered continuously. So we'll move on from that. Get over to this. Now, the Ukraine situation report. Both sides rationing shells ahead of Kiev's counteroffensive. Although shelling continues, artillery units are saving rounds as they expect to desperately need. So, yeah, this is, again, talking to what's going on relative to those leaks. They all know there's a big offensive getting ready to come, so they're trying to slow down the amount of stuff that they're shooting at this point in the game. Now, the other piece, too, is I just read something based on those leaks that the air defense systems that are in play right now in Ukraine are going to be out of ammunition by May. Now, that may or may not be a true data point, okay? Nothing you want more than to have your enemy fly in thinking that they're out of ammo and they get shot at. So, okay, we'll keep going. All right, Russia destroys Ukrainian ammo warehouses. This one's pretty interesting. It says they've destroyed a depot containing 70,000 tons of fuel near the southeastern Ukrainian city of something that I am not even going to try to pronounce, but I'll put it there so you can see it. But yeah, interesting there. All right, and let's move on. Got a lot to cover. Okay, Crimea beaches are covered with trenches and tank traps. They say this place looks like Normandy. It's insane. All these little bunkers that are in play now, that's just one of the photos of many. But they say that they are expecting, you can see some trenches along an area that was actually had tourists there at one point. But you can still see all of the little canopies and et cetera out here on the beach. But now it has been dug in with trenches and sand berms. Of course, you got the railing. So there's a lot of things that make it very difficult for anyone to come in via the water. Again, a little gun position there. All right, and we'll move on. Okay, IDF calls up reserves in preparation for the possible large-scale military op. Again, I was talking about wars and rumors of wars. This is no kidding. There is stuff going on all over the place. I will say this. I'm going to go over here to our, let me pull this up from the Israel side of the house. This just was in the news yesterday. And this has to do with Syrian's army. The 4th Armored Division sends reinforcements and weapons to the Israeli border. All right. So I've actually been up to a point there and looked over where a previous war had taken place, and you can still see remnants of it with burned out tanks and all kinds of different things. But it looks like they are about to go hot again. So we'll keep our eyes on that. If I get over to this other piece, give you the map, that red circle you see that I have right up here, that is actually going to be the Sea of Galilee. The blue area, that I don't really know what the deal is with that one right there, but that looks to be the hot spot right now where they believe the troops are moving down from Syria, Damascus area. And then if you notice to the left side with all the fighter jets and missile stuff, that's the Lebanese border. So this it gets really interesting very quickly if we have some activity taking shape from the north. But, you know, it definitely seems like things are heating up, okay? All right. This one here, just another data point for you. Terrorist attacks kill 44 in Burkina Faso. And this is Africa. That just happened over the weekend. So again, there's stuff happening all over the place, all over the world, you know, left to right, as I like to say, east to west. It's everywhere. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on all of that, okay? Now, here's one that I see as kind of an interesting one. Macron says Europe must not follow the U.S., China on Taiwan. This has to do, he just met with Xi, and they basically seem to be getting along pretty well. Keep your eye on this guy. Something about him. I don't know what it is, but this is just, again, it's another data point for you, but it looks like there is some dissension because remember, Macron is part of, he's part of the NATO piece. He's heavily involved in that area, and he's been trying to broker peace in the area for quite some time, unsuccessfully. But if he breaks rank and decides that he's not going to be part of this, then you start to break up part of the NATO piece. And France is a pretty large chunk of land in that region, and it would change the dynamics of all of that pretty quickly. All right, so keep your eye on that. All right, let's get over to the bases. Now, Biggs Army Airfield had nothing going on today, so we're going to kick it off with the camber flights. Notice we've got 4 of them up, a couple MD-11s, B-747 400s, and a 6.7 300. That one's going in and out of RZE. That's that location that we just looked at with the C-17s, right going into Poland, right here. Matter of fact, let me just kind of zoom in. That's RZE for you. This is Ukraine right here, okay? So the important piece to this is to keep in mind that the United States, when they're using these camber flights, these are contract flights. They are not a U.S. Air Force asset. It's not a C-17, anything like that. These are going to be, FedEx, Atlas Air, Coletas, etc. All right? Okay, let's move on. Let's get over to this base. This is going to be Lakehurst, Fort Dix. And I don't have too much going on there. We do have this one flight leaving to Dover Air Force Base, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump. And we do have that PAT. It's a priority air transport. Nothing really else. And then we get up here to Dover, and we'll see we do have several. We've got an Air Transport International coming in, Atlas Air coming inbound from Los Angeles, National Cargo. These are your big boys, 747 400s. And then as we look on the departure board, I do see the Air Transport International going to Baltimore. But other than that, I'm not really seeing much, okay? And then we get to this one. This is Ramstein. This is an Air Transport International 757-200 coming in from Portsmouth. That's probably troops coming inbound. And then we have a couple of reaches here coming out of Edinburgh. I know better than that. All right. And the National Cargo one has since dropped off, but it was out here in Southeast Asia. It was actually coming out of Hong Kong, which is interesting. All right. And then this is going to be your Western Global. These are your MD-11s, so those are probably, let's see, this one's coming in from Alaska, and notice where it's coming in and out of. This looks to be Frankfurt. That one's going in Huntsville. That right there is probably tied to some type of missile defense stuff, okay? I know Huntsville is a big area for that, okay? So we'll keep an eye on this. Notice this one's coming in from Seoul, Korea into Los Angeles. And we'll just keep our eyes on those as well, as always. And then this is Omni, just one rolling out of Barksdale Air Force Base. That's a B-52 SAC base, headed up to Minot Air Force Base, another SAC base. Probably moving troops. And then the Brits are pretty busy. They've got this one coming out of the corner there. Let's see, that's Yuma. All right, that's a military proving ground for the Marine Corps. And it looks like they're rolling out, headed across the U.S., probably headed back to the U.K. And then we have several others here. Let's see. Yeah, mainly just focused in on Europe. All right. Oh, that one's pretty far north. All right. About the list that we have for tracking flights. There is a particular list that is Skyglass only. It's actually a JSON file. So if you are looking for that particular one, you can go into MonkeyWerx, you can go into my list and just download, search under the shop under Skyglass. And that particular list, it's like I said, it's a JSON file. It's made for Skyglass really, but it'll give you all of those search aircraft that we've been looking for and been watching. And then you can basically go back and look at all the data tied to those particular ones. I've got it in categorized in my search list as aerial surveys, as well as several like 1,000 plus other aircraft. I think I'm up to about 1,600 now because the C-17s are in that list as well. But that's in my watch list. You can download it for free, and it will basically give you just, you know, everything that I'm looking at. The latest list, I just downloaded that on Friday, so that'll give you more data. So anyway, it's just, this times are getting really interesting. Keep your eye on these surveys. I'm really concerned about that aspect of it because I do think this ties into a bigger picture. I don't think it's tied to rail. I think it is tied to something that our government is up to. Okay. All right. Listen, that's going to be it. You guys be safe. Stay frosty. Keep that powder dry, and we'll see you on Wednesday. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at MonkeyWerx US.